Hello and welcome to Imperial Advisor, episode 4. We have usual guys, Justin, Eoin, Baz and Andy, and I am sunburnt. From in Northern Ireland, which I didn't think was actually possible at that latitude to get sunburnt, but the sun showed me. So yeah, we're pretty excited to obviously have a spoiler to show. And the basic sort of plan for what we're going to do on the show is we're just going to have a quick just run through of the cards that have been previewed since the last show. So the few lion cards, there was a unicorn card and a province, I think, and an event. And then we'll do our spoiler. And then after that, if everyone hasn't abandoned the show, we'll keep going regardless. And we'll talk a little bit line fiction, and there's a bit of tournament talk as well. I think we kind of have touched on a few times, but we're going to get stuck into afterwards. So that's the plan.
Lads, do I need to call counter?
And a little insight into our lives. Okay, so we've got our fancy new 5-way overlay. Ta-da. So talking lion, we haven't obviously had, things got pushed back a week, I guess, because FFG have been pretty busy running various nationals, and it's kind of been a lot of things coming to a head, it seemed. And now it's sort of back on a roller coaster, and they've said it's basically just bumped things a week from the sounds of things, the previews. So we have a sort of a start of what we think the line's going to look like, if not the complete picture. And so maybe we'll just sort of just do a quick run through what's there, and then what we've seen over the last sort of week or two, and what we think they're going to look like, what we like about them, and things like that. So we've got our stronghold that seems to favor getting guys on the field and being able to produce, get a few guys into a conflict and boosting that. And obviously we've seen staging ground as well, which allows you to help churn through more guys. We've seen the Way of the Lion, which is just a sort of another boost. We also had Steadfast Samurai, which is sort of just a cheap guy, and Lion's Pride Brawler, which I've been actually pretty impressed with when we've played. That I sort of didn't, I think, appreciated it when I first saw him, and when I saw him in action, provided he was used on the attack and not on the defense, as Baz will attest to, he was pretty good. And then we've started to see some new stuff down on top of that. So we had Ready for Battle, which is a zero-cost event. After an opponent's card or ring effect bows a character you control, ready that character. Seems just a solid staple. What did you guys think?
I think in a vacuum, that's going to be one of the most splashed cards. If you've nothing better to do with your influence, you are going to splash that card, I think, because there are inbuilt effects in the game that are going to bow you just Ring of Water, and that's going to see play just for that, because it could be massive if it negates, because bow seems powerful effect, and just going, boom, no, I'm not blown out by that. Huge, absolutely huge.
Yeah, and on top of that, I have a sneaking suspicion Lion will be one of the more popular clans to splash in general.
Yeah, if they've got strong military pieces, and you're kind of seeing that they've at least got good swarm personalities. If with is it Steadfast Samurai, Steadfast Bushi? I can't remember the name. That character staying on the board, or the amount of presence that they can have with cheap personalities or cheap characters is just going to be really, really great. And all the blanket sort of buffs that they're getting from, they're the forecast character who buffs everybody, or the stronghold that does it as well. It's gonna be pretty interesting.
Yeah, and so I'm gonna go through it at a reasonable pace just to keep things moving. We had Honored Blade, the attachment, which is a 2 force for 1 fate, or sorry, 2 mil for 1 fate. After the attached character wins a conflict, gain 1 honor, and that seems to really tie into sort of this the pride mechanic we saw on Akodo Gunzo, of a real extra reward on top of winning conflict. So if you can, I mean, we talked about the line of old, they win an early province and they snowball. It seems they're a little bit more snowbally perhaps than some of the other factions in terms of they compound wins on top of one another.
Although one of the ways to use this is to drop it on an enemy, perhaps one focused on politics, and every time they win a battle, you're still getting the 1 honor out of it.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. I hadn't sort of thought of it that way.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like just a generic attachment, to be honest. The lion do seem to have a few effects that interact with honor. We've seen the steadfast Bushi already, so yeah, I would imagine FFG have just pushed the idea of honorable military.
Yeah.
The interesting thing for me is that there seems to be a real surfeit of effects that boost their swarming military personalities. So I'm wondering if just the sheer number of those effects will mean the lion will, instead of essentially going all in on military, will adopt a slightly more tactical approach where they will be splashing a fair number of neutral courtier cards or neutral political cards, and relying on their number of boosts to carry them through easily on military without much in the way of investment. So I'm really taken aback, actually, just as I said, by the sheer number of boosts that Lion get militarily. Yeah. So,
I mean, it seems like Lion, maybe more so than some other clans, will not put tons of fate on guys because they'll want, more guys, a wider board rather than a few guys who are going to stick around a long time. And potentially, if I'm not sure you can say this definitively now, but they may want to sort of try get guys in play, win battles, honor them, and cycle them through to gain honor and sort of churn guys a little bit that way.
Well, I think we can see some interactions that they've already got. We can see the steadfast samurai sticks around if you've kept your honor high enough. The Akodo Gunso cycles provinces along with the holding. So it kind of looks like they should be able to churn out lots of cheap guys pretty quickly to get them onto the board.
Yeah. Okay. And so another guy, sort of one of the first sort of really big Lion characters we've seen was Honored General. 3 military, 1 politics for 4 fate. During a character when this character is participating, each other participating Lion character you control gains 1 military reaction after this character enters play. Honor it. So I mean that to what Justin was saying really ties into a powerful swarm mechanic, and I think from what we've seen from other cards, characters that can honor themselves are inherently pretty strong. That it seems to be a strong effect, and we haven't seen any Scorpion or other. Haven't seen a lot of dishonor effects, but even just that honoring yourself to insulate you a little bit from dishonor seems like it could be strong.
And it might let Lion play Voice of Honor. A lot of cancellation, a little bit of blue splashed in with that offensive line.
That's interesting. Yeah. Okay, and we had Death Seeker, our a classic sort of Lion archetype. 2 military, 1 politics for 2 fate, no glory. After this reaction, after this character loses a conflict as an attacker, sacrifice this character. Choose a character controlled by your opponent. If that character has no fate on it, discard it. Otherwise, remove 1 fate from that character.
I mean, that's a great card. From what I can see, that's a really great card for either feinting an attack or boosting it somehow in the battle to try and push it over to take a province. It's a really, really cool card for me as a split pushing type of character. I really like that. And built in with Swarm as well. I mean, even if you do lose, even if you are on the back foot and lose a battle, it still has a punishing effect that you can unleash onto your opponent. Such a good card, if you ask me.
I mean, the one of the complaints I've seen, or just sort of queries, I suppose, was whether that thematically was a good fit for Death Seekers, and as I'm saying, like the idea that Death Seekers should be they're all about reclaiming their honor through military victory, and having them benefit from losing a conflict seems to sort of clash with that a little bit.
I don't know. From a mechanics point of view, I can understand why some people would be concerned that winning winning and losing are kind of equal on this, because losing with the Death Seeker is actually pretty great. But no, from a background kind of perspective, it certainly seems to be victory or death. That if this Death Seeker cannot win the battle, it is going to go charging into whichever opponent it can find and try seize victory or die while doing it. It is a pretty fantastic card, and again, it does emphasize this kind of push guys out. You're probably never going to put any fate on the Death Seeker, and it's going to be an extra 2, or you're going to hope it gets killed. So one way or the other.
But the other thing, the flexibility that this card provides is kind of insane. I'm not sure if I have the rules on targeting correct, but the fact that you can choose a character controlled by your opponent means if you're deciding the order of the battles, that you can really affect anything that's on the board with this character, which is kind of insane, if I've gotten that right.
Yeah, I don't think it has to target anyone in the conflict.
I think it's a great card. I mean, it allows you to not really. You don't have to you don't have to dedicate a lot to this card to get huge mileage out of it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically a Ring of the Void effect. It's like winning a Void challenge. So, and Void is powerful. So that should give some indication to how good this card is.
And even when you're losing, you've presumably forced your opponent to get that extra little bit of fate or politic to actually get past that Death Seeker in the first place.
Yep. And I think the most important number on this card is the 1 political value, which means, well, actually, to the fact that it has a political value, is that you can just run it into a political conflict.
It can contest a political conflict.
There's going to be a lot of Death Seekers going to court, yeah.
Yeah. You can run the Death Seeker in, and I mean, because it doesn't look like Lion are particularly gifted on the political front, just in terms of their other personalities. So you can just run the Death Seeker in. If you win the political conflict, if your opponent doesn't want to oppose you, great. You just want to win the conflict. If they do want to oppose you, well, you've bowed down one of their characters and taken a fate off another one. So.
Yeah, and if you're declaring a Void political challenge as your first conflict, it's a win-win. It doesn't matter what happens. You're getting to resolve that either way. Yeah, but it does bring up a good point with the conflicts. Unlike the old game where Lion Blitz would have just gone over and crushed all your provinces, because there's politics and there's military, they're only really going to get half of the conflicts with the majority of their bonuses, which tend to be military focused. So yeah, being able to throw this and being able to utilize the political conflicts a little bit is really important for the Lions, I think.
Yeah, it seems like. Go on, Andy.
I was just going to say there's a little bit of chatter in the stream about the fact that this is a reaction and not a forced reaction. So on some of the cards that I've seen, at least, there's been forced reaction. Does this mean that this thing is optional, that you can not do this? So that means that just increases the amount of flexibility that this card has, in my opinion. If you do want to put fate on this card and keep it on the table for a little bit longer, if you have invested more, it's a gentle way of just, you can run this thing in, feint it, cut your losses and just not trigger the reaction. Or you can, if it's got no fate, just blow it up to blow something else up. It's kind of amazing.
I didn't spot that. I didn't realize you could choose exactly when to do it. That's pretty great.
Yeah, voted good.
Okay. All right. And Akoda Gunzo, which they revealed at the end of their the Facebook stream, or Gunso. So this also has the pride keyword, which was the first time we've seen that. So after a character wins a conflict, honor it. After this character loses a character, dishonor it. So real risk reward factor for conflicts. And aside from that, the reaction after this character enters play from province, refill that province face up. So a little bit like the staging ground holding allows you to sort of get more guys into play. So just solid, it seems.
Yeah, this guy, however, is pretty interesting insofar as he's a Lion Clan personality you do want to put Fate onto, because Pride is going to gain you nothing whatsoever unless he's hanging around for more than one turn, and 2-1 for 2 is not a wonderful stat allocation.
No,
but at the same time, and I think we're seeing this a lot in the kind of L5R design, because he churns out an extra guy out of province. You want to only pay 2 to free up as much resource as you can. So there's choices.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, but he's a guy. But he is a guy that you will want to put at least one feat on, I think, to make sure that you get something out of his keyword.
I think so. I think you want to keep him around as well for his reaction, because he's a guy who can trigger a massive turn 2 or 3. Like if you've been stockpiling a little bit of fate, or if you've been picking off the rings that haven't been used very often, or like passing your actions in the action phase or whatever it's called, the dynasty phase. If you've been passing in the dynasty in the first turn, this guy could be really influential with him and with the is it province that allows you to refill itself. This is kind of so cool.
He only affects himself after he enters play, so he doesn't allow you to do that.
You're right.
It'll only happen once, pretty much. Yeah.
You're right. My bad.
Interesting as well that some people were noting that the Bushido virtues were showing up as keywords, because I think we've seen sincerity and courtesy so far. But this guy's pride, people were like, that's not a Bushido virtue. But this isn't the Bushido virtue. This is something that's double-edged, because the other ones we've seen, like courtesy and sincerity, are just positives.
Yeah.
Whereas pride is double-edged, because it's good when he's winning and it's really bad when he's losing.
Yeah, it's a Shirito keyword. Or Shirito virtue.
What are Shirito virtues?
They are like the dark equivalents of the 7 virtues of Bushido.
Oh, right. Okay.
Don't ask the names
like the
off the
deadly
head,
sins, essentially.
Yeah,
so
pride, knowledge.
No, they're not like they're not like the deadly sins.
No, but
they're a little bit more Machiavellian. They're cooler.
They're the slightly more practical versions of the Bushido virtues.
So when will we see determination? Everyone's favorite dark virtue from the old L5R.
Hopefully never.
Yeah.
But yeah, and another thing about this guy, along with the what was his name, the Honor General, is Lion Clan personalities that just honor themselves.
Yeah.
We've seen a little bit of that in Crane, but now Lion have 2 personalities, albeit one of them costing 4, who effectively honor themselves, because I can't imagine this guy is going to, I can't see Lion losing military conflicts early in the game against most decks. I mean, maybe there will be some concerted anti-military clans out there. Crab, maybe. So Lion are going to have a lot of honored guys on the field, which means honor running is a possibility for them, I would say.
Yeah. And
again, with the attachments that gives them 1 honor every time they win a conflict, it's going
to start.
They could start they could start racking it up pretty quickly.
And we talked about sort of 2-1 stats for 2 fade is sort of mediocre, but when it's 4-3 stats after honoring himself, that's suddenly pretty great value.
That's really good, but you have to put extra fate on him, which doesn't seem to be a real focus for Lion, or at least it seems to run counter to a lot of other Lion cards are doing.
And with the honor running, there's a significant danger that the Lion player will accidentally just kill you before you can properly honor out. So that you got to watch out for that.
Being Lion, yeah.
Okay, and so then that was kind of all the Lion stuff. Then we had a neutral event, Good Omen. And I found that's kind of an interesting card for not necessarily because of what it does, but because this sort of starts to, cards like this give you real insight into the economy that underlies value of different elements of the game, of what is the value of a card, what's the exchange rate between the value of a card in hand and playing that to fate, and this sort of gives you sort of a conversion rate that, you know, one fate is worth a little bit more than playing a card because it's got some restrictions around it. And with a few of those, you can start to sort of build a picture of, you know, what cards are good value versus bad value.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there is an additional. There is an additional condition. It's a minor one, which is you have to bid lower on your honor than an opponent, which would seem to hedge this card more toward honor running decks, maybe. But
I mean,
but it
we still find
it also does mean that
slow down.
Yeah. But it does mean that you're not guaranteed to get it off on any single turn. So there is an opportunity cost inherent and a risk inherent in putting this card into your deck at all.
I mean,
interesting card
go ahead.
Interesting card for someone like Hotaru. If you're going to get your clan champion out and you invest very little in her when you bring her out, and then draw very few cards for the next few turns, if you have one of these in hand already, amazing value. Oh, what? I choose a character with printed cost of 3 or higher. Why not?
Because surely her cost is 5.
Which is
higher. Sorry,
yeah.
I can't read. I was accusing Andy of that.
No, it's totally okay. I mean, it's for me, it's like they've sort of run the value of one fate to a 3. One fate is equal to 3. Oh Jesus, what am I saying? Yeah, what's the currency?
No one knows.
Playing a card is worth a little bit less than one fate.
Yeah, it's worth a little bit less. So yeah, I think, but that goes up exponentially, I would say. I mean, if you're putting this in a character with 5 fate, you're kind of, I think you're definitely getting a lot of value out of putting this card in your deck.
Yeah.
And for a clan like Lion as well, who aren't going to be investing too much fate in their guys, putting this card in your deck is also, I think, a good thing. Just anyone who has a big beefy character that they want to keep alive, basically.
And so far, we've just seen the line, a tiny bit of the line, and we've seen Crane. But from the Crane, what we've seen 2 4 cost, we've seen 3 3 cost, and 1 5. That's plenty of characters. I think the real challenge here is being able to get that bid underneath your opponent. And in a situation where you manage to get your clan champion out before the other player has, when I see a clan champion opposite, I want to draw some cards so I can try deal with it somehow. So I think there will be plenty of opportunities if you can get it out fast. I think this is a fantastic card. Any card that gives you fate is amazing. Now the problem with it is you have to get the bid right. You have to have the high cost character, and once you hit that last turn, it doesn't really matter anymore. So yeah, there's a small window and when it's important, but if you can get that window, I think it's very, very important.
What I think is interesting as well is this card is inherent conflict card disadvantage, because not only are you putting the card away for the fate, because you've bid lower than your opponent, you've definitely drawn less cards than them at least that turn. So it is one where you are getting fate, but you are down cards. And the other thing I was wondering, I was looking at this going, should this have been called Avoid Fate?
But surely it's Get Fate.
It is Get Fate, but it avoids the fate that's waiting for you because you have some more fate on you.
That's very true. It's very true. I also like this card in, like I was saying, in Lion as well. And there's some discussion like, why would you put this in a Lion deck? I think what Lion is going to do is they're going to rely on, okay, once it gets to turn 2 or 3, you are never going to have less tempo than your opponent. You're always going to be in a win more situation. And this is a card that is just going to free up resources so that you can keep churning out characters and secure all of the stuff you already have on the board that's important. And it's going to cost you some amount of cards to draw, but I think that's going to be a little less relevant a little later in the game because you're going to be gaining honor from the cards that you have on the table. It'll balance it out. I mean, you one turn with playing this and sacrificing one turn to play this to keep an important character on the table, I think would be worth it.
Yeah, so I just see from the Twitch chat, a key point that we've missed on so far is dueling. Dueling is a fantastic way to reset your bid dial without actually impacting your card draw. So, a duel hits the table, you bid 1, and all of a sudden you can play Good Omen again.
Yeah. I sort of feel like, though, it's a card that, as the game evolves and we get past just the core set, it's not going to make the cut for very long. What do you guys think about that?
Any economic advantage has to be looked at a couple of times.
Yeah.
Especially in a game where they're looking to keep costings tight.
Agreed.
You're looking at a situation where you're probably going to have about 7 to maybe 10 fate to work with in a turn. Any card that goes, here's an extra fate, is worth looking at least twice in pretty much any situation. Now, you may find that in your deck it doesn't fit because you tend to be bidding high a lot on the dial or dueling a lot, so you end up going high. But it's going to be a card that people will look at for a long time. Now, it may turn out to be not that great, but I just look at the maths of how much fate is available. And yeah, like they're not. I can't see them printing an effective 1 Kaku card. I can't see them printing a card that's like 0 gain of fate, like that transparently putting that value on it.
Yeah.
So I can see that one staying on for quite a while.
It's a free card in a game where the economy is very, very finely balanced, I would say, and it's a free card that generates part of an economy. And I think as the game evolves, as you get more and more high cost characters that you want to be putting in your decks, this card is just going to be amazing. This will get better as the game goes on.
Interesting.
And just to point it out, it is actually part of a design team that they have going, because Good Omen is, printed cost 3 or higher. We haven't fully seen all of Assassination, but we know that it is printed cost 2 or lower. So I think we'll be seeing that kind of team across a couple of the cards, where anything 2 or less is easier to take out, and we're getting benefits for having any characters of 3 cost or higher.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense though, because if you take your basic 7 fate at the start of a turn, it means you can churn out potentially 3 personalities, like 2 each with 1 fate and 1 cost guy, for a broad board and quite a number of stats. Whereas if you've got a 3 cost guy, you want to be putting at least 1 fate on that personality, and that means you're restricted immediately to at most 2 personalities, reasonably. If you want them to hang around. So those are significant breakpoints in terms of pushing, in terms of being able to attack, or at least attack and declare your conflicts and defend conflicts in turn. So I think, the 2-3 seems to be a pretty significant breakpoint.
I think there's some value in keeping sort of pretty consistent breakpoints, because I think it allows a bit more strategic counterplay, that if cards have sort of varying breakpoints all over the place, you sort of just have to play around everything. But actually, if most cards have a sort of a 2 versus 3 sort of breakpoint, you have to start to think about which guys you make from your promises, and asking some questions to yourself about what is right and what are the consequences of doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a built-in metagame, or a metagaming condition. In much the same way, like you've got Mori Kuroi for the Phoenix, which is kind of an inbuilt environmental control that, your decks just can't go all military or all political, because they're simply going to lose to that 1 card if ever they bump into it. And similarly, I think you'll see cards that punish an excessive use of 2 cost personalities in a deck, and also reward a significant use of 3 cost personalities in a deck, and that's possibly, or maybe even probably, built in as a balancing mechanic at a meta level, just to make sure that Swarm doesn't become an overwhelming easy option.
I think also the existence of this card can also be used as a mind game on your opponent. Just the mere fact that it's out there means that you can sort of psych your opponent into bidding low for their cards, especially when they need them the most. So if you are actually holding a Good Omen, or if you're faking holding a Good Omen, you can try and get your opponent to bid low on the amount of honor that they're going to bid, so that they don't get as many cards as they possibly could. If that character is key to your strategy at that moment in time.
And that just that bluffing about that does actually raise another question. When do you play this? Do you try keep it till the very end of the turn when you've got a better idea of what's going on and you can choose exactly the right character? Or, and because we've seen a couple of the effects do target characters with no fate on them, do you try play it early to make sure that your character has that extra bit of fate on them so they're not going to get targeted by those effects? Obviously, we'll have to see a little bit more as the kind of effects come out, but again, more decisions.
Yeah. And, I mean, something we've talked about a couple of times is through our games is the scenario where you bet on the game ending on this turn and you build your guys without fate on them, banking on that. I mean, this could, if you sort of go, oh, actually he managed to defend and now I'm losing my guys, allow you to sort of save face a little bit and hang on to guys for one more turn, which could be pretty crucial, particularly with a big guy getting an extra turn you didn't count on out of them.
And it'll stop Baz J Tetsuboing my Hataru.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got a few more, and then we'll move on to our spoilers. So our neutral province Night Raid, 4 province strength, fire aligned province. Reaction: after this province is revealed, your opponent chooses and discards X cards from her hand. X is equal to the number of attacking characters.
Perfect for the line week.
Yeah.
The anti-line
This is a
card.
horrifying card. If you're trying to play Swarm, this is just unless you're. I can envision a point where this card is absolutely meaningless, or it's absolutely devastating. I don't think there are two ways that it could possibly go with this.
It seems very much like a under your stronghold province to me.
Yeah, your sort of last resort. I'm going to absolutely wreck you. This is my last ditch defense kind of card.
Yeah. It's an amazing card. It's an amazing card. I can see this. Yeah, it's great for under the stronghold for the final commit everything. Now you've got no hand plays. It's fantastic. Just for sticking under your provinces. If you make them discard 2 cards, I mean, it's a staple in honor running and dishonor decks for sure, because the cards that they're discarding are effectively honor you will gain, because they will have to bid to get those cards back if they want to play them.
It is definitely an incentive to send that eager scout into the first political battle you can find.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and I think the other fire province is the one that switches the ring type.
Okay.
Is it? So I'm pretty sure this should see consistent play over that one. Hang on a second.
Elemental Fury is
Fury.
water, actually. So,
is it water? Oh, okay. I take it back.
I don't see a reason why you wouldn't play this card in any deck, because that kind of tempo advantage with like making your opponent just straight off the bat with no information discard X cards, even if it's one card, that can be a big difference.
Yeah, I don't think we've actually seen another fire province, but then a lot of the provinces we've only seen from the fan, so we didn't get to see those bottom corners.
And then if your clan province happens to be fire, and I wouldn't be shocked if Lions was fire, then you're probably not going to play that.
Yeah. I definitely expect, like, it just seems like it's rarely a bad card to have under your province, probing and using one conflict to probe is still a pretty big cost in itself.
Yeah, because I mean you're chucking one of your challenges for the turn. You're discarding a card. It's I mean any way you cut
Death Seeker, right?
That said, it is only 4 province strength, and it only works that once when it's revealed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not actually broken. It's just really good as opposed to completely broken. So,
yeah. It's infinitely, you can play around it. You can play around this card, I think. If you're good and if you kind of have a good idea that it's there and you manage your hand well and you manage your attacks well.
Yeah, but it's just a great card.
Yeah,
It
and
is,
you never know. You never know if it's going to be there or not. You may have to play around it all the time.
Yeah.
And
It's one of those cards you can bluff.
if you've hit 3 provinces and not hit that one, you're going to assume it's under the stronghold, and if it's not under the stronghold, you know, you've potentially wasted a turn trying to sort of pull it out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a big. I mean, it's a huge tempo swing, potentially, like huge. I mean, the games we had, missing one conflict on one turn was the difference between winning and losing. So it's the kind of card that could really put you in just a lose-lose situation. So,
okay.
Oh yeah, it's good.
And then we had there was a French spoiler, a sort of various fan of cards. One actually interesting thing someone pointed out was that Mirumoto Prodigy his stats have changed, so he has 1 less military strength than he had in the previous reveal.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, which is probably good because you just slap a couple of weapons on a Mirumoto Prodigy and just go, yeah, what are you going to do? 6 strength military, come and get me.
You're still going to do that.
Yeah.
Oh no, I know you still are, but you know,
It's gonna have to work for it.
So the unicorn personality, we had a 3 fate, 2/2, 3 glory, a unique personality, Bushi and Battle Maiden. I'm sure lots of unicorn players will be happy to see that trait turn up. Cavalry. Action during a conflict, discard a card from your hand. This character gains +2/+2 until the end of the conflict, limited to once per conflict. So really solid self-pump.
Yeah, it just seems solid.
Yeah.
There's not much else to say.
3 glory as well.
3 glory. Like if you have a way to honor her and then toss a card, like that's a beating. That's 7/7 coming at you.
Yeah, that's gonna do some serious. That's clan champion level force, and it's like it's balanced, so it's 7/7.
Yeah.
It's not like it's sort of 7 military, 2 politics. It's it can do it either way.
On the other hand, if you dishonor her and you pitch her, she's 1/1.
Yeah. And the other thing we saw from this was Shiba Sukune, a 5 fate 4/4, and we have no idea what her ability is.
What she does, yeah.
Potentially pretty good if it's 5 fate for 4/4.
Shiba Sukune would be the clan champion. Yeah.
Is she the champion? Because I saw there was a bit of
she must be
discussion.
So is there any backstory to that? Was there someone else instead?
Ujimutsu was the original Phoenix Clan champion, but I'd imagine this is part of just kind of fixing the gender balance a bit. I mean, Ujimutsu did nothing in the story ever. Sukune was much more important in the clan wars, so I guess they decided Ujimutsu out, Sukune in, and awesome.
Because they had referenced someone else previously as the clan champion in a bit of teaser text, I believe.
Had they?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, really?
Maybe some of them.
Okay, that's interesting.
Ujimutsu in a bit of text at one point. But they also called her Arasu as the Lion Clan champion.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and we're going to see that.
Yeah.
Maybe Ujimutsu's for the chop as well.
Yeah, we can talk about that in a sec. Okay, so that's kind of our cards, and I think we can go on and show something new.
Yay!
Yeah, I don't know, I should have done some sort of fanfare for this. Yeah. Okay, Pilgrimage, a 5 strength province. It is void aligned. During conflicts at this province, cancel all ring effects. If this province breaks, resolve ring effects as normal. First impressions?
Well, five is bigger than 4.
It seems all right. I mean, it seems like a good, strong province. I mean, the cancel all ring effects. Cancel all ring effects. Does that mean? Okay, just at that province. So that means you're going to get 1 ring effect at that province, and that's it, right?
So that means if I attack that province and I don't break it, I do not I assume I could capture fire, but fire will not resolve. I will not get to honor or dishonor anyone.
So it basically means that you can stop failed attacks. You can stop like attacks that aren't breaking the province. You can stop them getting any advantage whatsoever, or some advantage anyway. They'll still win the conflict, right? But
they will win the conflict.
They won't resolve the ring effect. That can be big, but I mean, once it's out, you know that you don't really have to pay much attention anymore. So I don't know. I think it works once, and that's it.
Which I think says something. I mean, it will work that once, and they will never want to attack it ever again.
Well, yeah, that's fair. I mean, or they know that you're not going to defend that one as vigorously or avidly as you would defend another province. I don't know. I'm not actually sure it's. I'm not sure it's that great. I've been, historically speaking, and I think Justin will confirm this. I have been really, really terrible at assessing the value of cards.
Big thing is it's 5. So 1 0 strength guy with a bonsai is not cracking this one. So that's kind of critical. It's got a trait that means you can't. It's not a friendly one. You can just run a 2 strength guy on to do a cheap fire challenge because you want to honor him before he gets discarded. So it's one that when it comes out there, it's tough. It's tough to crack, and you're not getting much out of it. Don't, because sometimes you get the moral victory of, oh look, well, okay, I didn't break your province, but hey, at least I get the ring effect. With this one, you don't get anything unless you break it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it seems like it's I believe the first 5 strength province we've seen. And I mean, I think that's a sort of real selling point. A couple people are asking about void provinces. The other one we've seen is Mori Kuroi, the Phoenix one, which is obviously very strong.
Phoenix won't be going on many pilgrimages, I can tell you.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like that's potentially the matchup when it's best. Because there's the...
Yeah, well, I mean... Yeah. This is basic. It's hard to call it meta, but it's certainly a small poke in the eye for honor dishonor decks, or decks that aren't intending to break provinces. Because again, playing against Baz, what you want to do as an honor deck is you want to find a nice, safe province that you can just attack repeatedly without ever breaking it. I mean, obviously, sometimes, not breaking provinces isn't a great plan. But frequently you just don't have, between cards in hand and personalities on the board, you just don't have the resources to go over and just smash provinces, happily. So a card like this is, I mean, it's an irritation for an honor dishonor deck, insofar as, they're losing quite a chunk of what they're hoping to get out of a turn when they run into this thing. Against military, as Owen says, you're not going to have a 0-4 Sky banzaiing it down. I'm not sure if that's going to matter all that much. It's fine. It's no more than fine. It's one of those cards that'll go in. It'll go in at the start, and it'll annoy some people. But as soon as a better Void province comes around, then it's straight out, I would say. It just doesn't do enough.
I'm not entirely sure. It's definitely reactive or defensive, maybe, insofar as it's not getting you a positive action. It's denying your opponent. But I think when we're looking at it and we're saying, one bonsai will push that one military guy over, we're not factoring in the defense. It's easier to defend this province than it is any of the others that we've seen so far because of that 5. And you don't need to win by 1. You need to lose by 4, because if you're losing by 4, you've stopped them from getting the ring. So if this said, gain 4 relevant skill on the defense, I think it would probably get a better reception. I think it's quite good. I like it a lot.
Yeah,
but it's go on, Justin.
No, the other thing is actually where we are taking a look at this card completely in isolation. If you have more than one province that heavily punishes you as a specific kind of deck, again, this looks like mainly an honor dishonor defense sort of, or at least something to put a kink in those guys' plans. So if you've got 2 provinces that do something similar and hurt that deck, then they have to go to one of them. or they may bump into one of them. So I don't know. I'm just not madly thrilled by it, but I could be wrong. I could absolutely be wrong.
Does it have a space in military as just a defensive thing against? I mean, this is a province that an honor or a control deck or a dishonor deck is probably never going to attack. So you limit the options to just 3 locations. Maybe, as you say, Justin, one or more of which are also unfavorable for the potential attacker. So you can put up a more legitimate defense you can be a lot less spread out as a military defender defending a political conflict.
Yeah, as I said, I mean, it looks like a card that will be good early on, but isn't going to cut it as more cards come out. But yeah, I'm just not overwhelmed by it. But at the same time, it is a really big tempo swing if it does prevent someone from getting a ring.
And I mean, I think we talked a
that
little bit.
Honestly, could be worth it.
I think we sometimes throw around, the effective ban cycle is such a powerful card, but a political conflict running into this, there's a lot fewer boosts available to you, and that 5 strength could be a bit more of a hurdle to get over.
Yeah, and I mean, if the average length of a game is 4 turns, then you've got 8 challenges, and if this is stymieing, 1/8 of your challenges for a game, then maybe it's not that bad. But I don't know. I just find it quite hard to judge this card without seeing other cards. I think it depends very much on other cards.
True,
make this
and
good
I
or
think
bad.
also the nature of provinces and the elemental, having to hit the 5 elements. The real question is how good is it versus other void provinces.
Yeah.
And since there's actually a good few people in chat, I'd be curious if anyone wants to give their rating out of 5 in chat. I'm just curious to see what everyone thinks. So feel free to just throw a number in there, and yeah.
I think it definitely is the vanilla of provinces we've seen so far. But vanilla has its place in that Sunday.
I mean, I also wonder down the road, is there sort of a high province strength set of provinces you might want to play in certain deck types? A sort of crab defensive thing where actually you just have big provinces to get over.
Oh God,
absolutely.
I hope not. Don't bring back the Kai walls.
Because if you've got the holding on top of this 7 province strength, that is hard to break.
Yeah, and this is the anti-Hataru meta card with the effect.
Yeah, well, for 1 turn anyway.
Yeah, exactly. That's I think the point of this card. It's you get 1 surprise turn where it actually does its job, and then it's a known quantity that you play around. So I'm sort of it's nice. It's probably going to have a role at the beginning, like Justin says, and then fade out as soon as something else replaces it.
Yeah,
I'm getting slack in the channel for calling it vanilla. Vanilla is a flavor, people. It's not just ice water.
I love vanilla. Vanilla is a great flavor. I could go on a extended rant about vanilla being my favorite ice cream flavor, but we'll save that for another show.
What kind of vanilla is it? Are we talking about the what is it? You can get vanilla from is it raccoons something or other?
I
don't know.
What you get up to the weekend with raccoons is.
You can get. There are 2 types of vanilla. There's vanilla that you get from orchids, and there's vanilla that you get from the glands of a skunk or a raccoon's. Where?
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, here on Imperial Advisor, it's part L5R show, but also part David Attenborough documentary.
Remind me not to get vanilla ice cream next time I'm over here.
That's if you get the really cheap vanilla ice cream. That's when you get raccoon gland flavoring. And just for anyone curious, for the VOD, etc. Rating wise from chat, I think it's a solid, probably 4 out of 5 on average. A mix of 3s, 4s, and 5s. So, I mean, maybe higher than I would have expected, but yeah, I think pretty solid.
Andy, you have sold us a pup. It is not raccoons. It is beavers.
Beavers, sorry. Oh, I knew.
Well, then, delicious.
Beavers, yum.
And it's does it say where from a beaver it comes from?
It is from their caster sack, which is used in combination with urine to mark territory.
There you go.
It
There you
is
go, boys.
basically
The sweetest smelling territory in the world.
just beside their anal glands, stored in 2 cavities under the skin between the pelvis and the base of the tail. Not endocrine or exocrine glands, however, preputral glands.
Well,
Very nice.
I think we can safely say we've hit peak podcast. We may as well just all retire now. There's no more points.
Well, I mean, I'm just going to have Baz saying beavers, yum, on repeat as a highlight. Alright, so I think we can wrap up sort of spoiler chat. I kind of want to get your view on the fiction. I thought I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was quite the twist. The fiction from Wednesday last week's article. What was everyone's impression?
Well, I like to see Tuturi.
Everyone likes a bit of Tuturi.
Yeah, it was. I also thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was very good. You know, it was great to see the different characterizations. I was fully expecting to see what's her face, Matsu Tsuko. Yeah, Matsu Mad Dog Tsuko. I was fully expecting her to see her just like attack nearby furniture and just pull it apart with her teeth. But no. The characterization there was great. The characterization of Tuturi is just thinking too much was also good. Arasu was, basically, just this wonderful, Adonis-like superhero, racing forward into relentless enemy fire and, getting shot. And Emo Hitaru was maybe a bit of a low point, but that's okay.
So I've seen a few people talk about this. I think it was genius, and I don't think she was doing it because she was feeling emo. I think it's that classic Crane thing of, how am I supposed to present myself? Oh, I'm supposed to be sad about killing the Lion Clan champion. Sure. Tears. All right, let's take down this guy. So that's how I kind of saw it. I felt it was more of a staged act. Now, maybe I'm wrong. I did not write the story.
Yeah, it runs a little bit contrary to her characterization in the first story, though, where she does come across as naive and earnest. So all of a sudden, to have developed, a mask of crocodile tears seems
too much time with Kachiko.
Yeah, a bit more Kachiko-like than
6 political skill. Gotta have something for it.
Solid tactics, though. Swarm him with pawns and then shoot him in the face as he's carving his way through them. I mean, that's really what you're going for.
Absolutely.
That's Zap Brannigan tactics right there. I mean, wave after wave of your own men through a fine mesh screen.
That's because all these honored samurai, he's gaining honor every time they die, and go out of play. It's classic Lion tactics.
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, no Death Seekers, though. No Death Seekers.
Not yet.
I mean, Hitaru must have leveled up off the XP from that kill, surely. It's the other factors, so... Expect
she's honored now.
Hitaru XP1 coming soon.
What was interesting as well is how many kind of original L5R classic Lion personalities showed up in the fiction.
Agatoki
Agatoki and
awesome.
Gohai.
Yeah, just the drop of Gohai grinning in the background. It's like they just got one of the old decks and just like crammed it in. It was good. I really enjoyed the story.
It begs the question for me, at least. Like, we've been seeing an awful lot of generic line or generic personalities or generic characters in the game. How much are we going to see? How much more of this are we going to see? And how much more of the named characters are we actually going to get into the game?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, the Crane, the Crane fiction was actually quite light on named characters. I mean, obviously you had Kachiko, Hitaru, you had a few, but anyone who's played, but Narishima's new, so.
I mean, I always seem there was sort of dropping him in just to sort of.
But there was a huge nostalgia kick from the Lion story. I mean,
yeah.
With anyone who's played as long as we have, seeing Gohei again and Agatoki, was fully expecting Agatoki to be up on his horse, kicking around the place and running roughshod through hails of arrows, going, "Nah, can't touch me."
There was no indication that he was not on his horse at all times, especially in
This is true. This is very true. But yeah, so I thoroughly enjoyed it. More like that, please.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things is if they introduce every time they introduce a named character into the game, that's more unique abuse where we can get that free face. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with that. Will they have a cap, or will they be able to just keep churning out named personalities?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like that there's a little bit of scope there still. It'll be interesting to see sort of how much further on that, say, Lion cast, where I've got a slightly bigger cast, they do expand it, or if they sort of delve a bit deeper into some of those existing guys they've sort of teased a little bit in that story.
It is also kind of interesting that Toturi is fresh, just like Toturi is. It'll be interesting to see if they're going to try stretch that out across a few of the clan champions, whether it's part of you're brand new into the game, so are these characters here, grow with these characters and kind of expand the stories. Now, I think if they do it with everyone, it might seem a little bit trite, but for a few of them, certainly it seems nice.
Yeah,
I'd love that. I'd really love that, because I wasn't present in the game back when those characters, this whole storyline in the old L5R was something that I missed because I came in a little bit later than that. So if they do get me invested in those characters, it'll be brilliant for me.
Yeah.
For all of us.
Absolutely, yeah.
Did you take a look at the art for Toturi at the end of the story?
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Interesting because the head and the helmet are very sharply defined. But as you go down, it starts to kind of bleed into sort of a slightly more elemental look, where it actually looks like he's kind of wreathed in fire.
Mm.
And that's the very kind of an interesting evoking of that on his art.
Gonna have to have another look at that. And something else that I just saw today was that they've put a Twitter poll out to see which clan will be next revealed. And at the moment, it's literally just changed as I was watching. So when I looked this morning, it was like 60% dragon, 40% crab. So it's between dragon and crab, obviously. And now it's literally just turned 50-50. So crab are making a strong comeback.
Interesting.
Great.
So dragon rush attack versus crab defense, it seems. Crab coming good in the long game.
Oh yeah, actually we missed one of the previews. We missed the Phoenix action.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Let me grab that. Throw it up.
Is that
the bailed early in your face?
Know the world?
Yeah, this card is really interesting.
Yeah, for many reasons.
Yeah.
There we go. It's up on stream. Yeah. So it's a 1 fate event, Know the World, a 3 influence to splash. So it's going to be probably not commonly splash, you would think. Spell Void. Action. Switch a ring in your claimed ring pool with an unclaimed ring and gain all the fate on that ring. Retain the ring's conflict type.
I think that's pretty strong.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously a 1 fate event, but it seems like a lot of the time you're simply just going to be making straight cash on me.
Yeah.
And denying cash to an opponent.
And we've seen dragon characters who key off sort of unclaimed fate on rings, and this is a great way to deny that.
Yeah.
Yep.
We
Yeah,
also
it's
know
interesting
that
in a lot of ways.
we also know that
Sorry,
the
go ahead.
Phoenix decks key off of, or at least one of them keys off of a ring in your claimed pool. So the Psalm Scholar, the 1-cost character with 1/1, during a conflict, if the Earth ring is in your claimed pool, choose an attacking character, bow that character. So you don't necessarily have to win the Earth ring. You can then switch it around. It also means that you can win with air and then switch them round and then win with air again if you're able to do a political and a military. Why would we do that with air? Why not?
Yeah.
I mean,
The shenanigans possible is just immense.
But the most exciting part about it does not require Shigenja.
Doesn't require Shigenja. Yeah.
Oh wow!
That's interesting.
Jeez, didn't actually notice that. Yeah, jeez.
Mind blown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the fact that they costed it 1 fate. I think this card would be absolutely broken if it cost 0. The fact that it costs 1 means that you always have to have some resource in the bank to play this, and it's probably only ever going to recoup its cost. So if they'd made this a 0 cost card, I think it would be overpowered.
Yeah, it would be far. Yeah, it'd be way too good.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the shenanigans, being able to deny your opponent a key ring, use the same ring twice. Yeah, I mean, so there's two. There's the other Phoenix guy whose name I've forgotten, the 3/2, who blows people up during fire conflicts. So again, you can. So again, you can just you can declare your fire conflict. Your opponent decides not to defend because he doesn't want to get his guys blown up. You go, thank you very much. You switch it out. Get some random ring. Declare another fire conflict.
Asawa Masahiro. Yeah.
Asawa Masahiro, yeah. So and the 3 influences are a really big deal as well. I mean, clearly this is a card that they really don't want splashed heavily in a lot of decks.
And thematically, that makes a lot of sense as well. It feels like a Phoenix card.
Now, the one drawback is you have to have a ring already in your claimed pile, which basically is going to make this unplayable for Phoenix as far as I'm concerned.
No.
But it's classic Phoenix card in a lot of ways. It's going to be, you have to sit there, you read it again. You're like, what is this? You read it again. You're like, God, spell. Read it again. And you're like, and then this could be put aside, and then 4 months all of a sudden it's in some deck that's dominating the environment. You're like, what did that do again?
Wait, you're doing what with it?
Yeah. Like, you win the game now? What?
So does this mean, so you have to have a claimed ring. So you've claimed, let's say, Void, for example. You've taken a fate off somebody, and then you switch Void that you've claimed for an unclaimed one. Void goes back to being unclaimed. Is that right?
Yep.
And then you can reclaim Void for in a different conflict. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense then.
Seems good. It seems like a little bit like we talked about, sort of just hard to say the full value without having seen all the cards and all the potential shenanigans you can do with this, but definitely seems like it's got plenty of potential.
If you're in a conflict, the ring hasn't been claimed yet, has it?
No, it's contested.
No, it's contested.
No, it's contested. Yeah.
So you can basically, if someone's going in for you for the air for the win, you can go, know the world, I'll give you this fire ring that I previously claimed.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah. I'll take your air ring.
That's a good point. So that means it's not going to work with the Asawa Masahiro because it has to be.
No, with the Asawa Masahiro, but what you do is you run fire, and then during which he works, then you just run fire again.
You just keep getting fire ready. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, there's also the air Shigenja, so you could, if I'm right, you could have potentially do a bit of air shenanigans as well with her.
Phoenix is like, don't care what the rings are. All the rings are one.
Yeah.
Small question on the order of phases. Do you declare all your military attacks and then your political ones, or is it mixed up?
Mixed and alternating.
Okay.
So it's alternating. So declare a conflict. You each declare one conflict until you've declared 2, and you can't declare the same type. You have to declare one. You declare a maximum of 1 military and 1 political.
Now, you can't pass your first one, and that means that opportunity is gone. And then your second opportunity, you can choose political or military.
Okay, so there will always be an unclaimed ring for you to claim, or to swap out. Yeah.
I mean,
assuming as best that you managed to get one in the first place.
Yeah. Seems reasonable.
Something I've found playing games is, particularly as the game goes on and you start getting a bit of fate accumulating on rings, you've got some really tough decisions. Tough decisions, a recurring theme, but about which ring you want to use for a conflict, because there's that pull towards a 2 fate ring, and there's that pull to the effect you want to get from a ring, and the ability to take the effect you want and then still get the fate from the ring that had the fate accumulated on it just seems like a great ability. Okay.
So, and it does look like Phoenix will be playing a remarkably different game from everybody else.
Yeah. It does look like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Back to the story or whatever.
Yeah. So let's move on. Let's talk a little bit of tournament talk. We're actually gone on a little bit, but there's a few things that it's worth just talking about briefly first. So Gen Con, how many extra tickets was it that they put up?
Another 350.
350.
Yeah.
So pretty much doubling that event, and that's going to be a huge event now. Inevitably, some people still missed out, but I don't think at this point anyone can criticize FFG for not doing everything they could to sort of try and make it a success and try and keep people happy. I have to imagine that finding 350 tables and seats to see players at this stage of Gen Con organization is not a trivial bit of logistics.
I think they've done an incredible job. I mean, it would be 175 tables, right?
Yes.
Well,
but
350
total.
tables now. Yeah,
350 tables total. But that's an insane. That's a huge tournament. Is that one of the biggest tournaments? It's definitely the biggest tournament in L5R history. Is it the biggest? One of the biggest in card gaming? I'd say it's well up there. Right?
Not close to
Magic
Magic
like
GPs.
2,000 person Grand Prix and stuff like that. No, it's
But aside
they don't
from
count.
Magic,
Yeah,
they don't. They
count.
kind of don't count. I mean, I'm trying to factor out the Magic effect. So, for any other CCG, especially any FFG CCG, has it been, or LCG, I should say, has it been anywhere close?
I think we can firmly say that out of card game tournaments in the 700 to 710 bracket, this is the biggest one.
Okay.
Probably. That's 709
with a
person
6-person
tournament.
margin of error.
The biggest L5R event previously was the 500 plus one. I think there was a couple of those in both Spain and France.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest set of unique participants in a Gen Con was about 400 a couple of years. Might have crept towards 500, but usually because it's difficult because there's multiple grinders. But this is certainly the biggest event in the US ever for L5R. So that'll be interesting. Now, the huge X factor is how many of those people are sitting down to play and how many of them are buying a box and leaving, or basically effectively buying a box and leaving.
Yeah, very true. But I think this will be, I tend to think this will be probably, the dropout rate will be, or the dropout number will probably be higher, obviously, but the dropout rate will still be about the same. I'd say you'll still get about a 10 to 20% dropout rate, and most players will play in this tournament for at least one round. That would be my guess.
I mean, go on.
Well, one of the big draws of this is going to be the fact that there will be some sort of promos available at this event, and may only be available at this event because that was the experience in the past, where for Game of Thrones they had alt arts, and those alt arts were given out in the final round. So, yeah, we will have to see what happens there.
Yeah.
One way or the other, FFG and I guess Gen Con, we don't know the background, but they've both done a fantastic job getting it where it is, and it sounds like Gen Con is going to be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, the banzais are going to be only amazing. If you've got 700 people in a card hall doing banzais,
There's going to be a few really confused new players.
I'm sure we can explain.
Who will figure it out pretty quickly, I'm sure.
Before things go off, yeah. But yeah, it's amazing, and another 100 spots for the Friday tournament as well, which is the storyline.
Oh, I didn't see that.
The Friday's 256 now.
That's
256. Yeah, actually, yeah, that makes.
I tell you, as a TO, 700 player tournament will be giving me. I will be getting very nervous.
With people new to the game who've never played before, who are
you have to break it down.
Okay.
I mean, I would imagine, 5 or 7 odds or something like that. And anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what exactly they're going to do. They've got quite a strict time limit on this because the hall is not infinitely available for them. So their start time for this is 12. Their finish time is 8. they're going to try and finish event registration by 12:30. Start the celebration at 1, then hand out the boxes, and then everyone builds a deck. I mean, this event is not starting much before 2. With the best will in the world, like this.
That's 6 hours to play.
That's 6 rounds, and
that's not 1 hour rounds. So that's not 6. I don't see 6
rounds.
No, it could be 5 because you are going to end up with. Wow, it's a bunch of people will never have played this game before while sitting down at that event.
I think the vast majority will never have played this game before.
The judges will have no hair by the end of it, I'd say.
I don't know.
It'll be all pulled out.
Need for this. I don't know if you genuinely could need 20 judges at this event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you could
possible.
run it. You could run it like old L5R, and you could get some random judges on the day from volunteers and people who played the game for a while. But I don't know if that. Jeez, yeah. How do they usually do? How do FFG usually do their sanctioned events in terms of judges? Do they have, like Magic have, trained judges who are either sponsored or somehow subsidized by the company?
For legal reasons, the sanctioned judge makes
yeah. That there have been employment
disputes
about Magic judges. Yeah,
I see.
There's holding a flux.
So I think FFG has been promising some sort of judging program for a while, but I mean, this Magic thing only came up in the last year, I think, and even before that, the logistics of it are just nightmarish.
Also, does anyone know do FFG have dedicated software yet?
I would.
They do for X-Wing, at least. That's the only other game that I've played. If there's
really
tournament level, and they do, yeah.
Let me tell you, I don't want to do that. I wouldn't want to do that on bits of paper.
No, but as I said, I mean, I the only way I can see this working is if they break it down into pods of a reasonable size that can be managed without too much hassle, because you're not going to run a 700-player tournament. That's ludicrous.
Yeah.
So you break it down into, I don't know, I mean, assuming you've got a dropout rate, so maybe you've got 600 and something players, break it down into 10 pods of 64 players, hopefully, fingers crossed, give or take. And that'll give you close to, you run your 5 or 6 rounds, and that'll, like 6 rounds of 64 people will give you a winner.
You'll get one person on 6-0 and then 6 on 5-1.
Yeah. So you'll get a winner that way. But that's the only way I can see.
And it may not even be a case that they're looking to get one single winner. They might be looking for kind of different approaches to it. I mean, even if they just look for best of clan and just kind of try to do something like that.
But, yeah, it'd be interesting to see if you can get to a best of clan from those numbers.
True.
I think they'll just get a top percentage and go, this percentage gets something extra.
Yeah.
Because I cannot see
titles, perhaps.
There's just not enough time.
No, time is the thing that's against them. And even with the 300-man tournament, time was always going to be a factor against them. And I think just the doubling the organizational workload is not going to do them any favors in terms of timekeeping.
And speaking of time, this game does seem to take a while.
Yeah.
I mean, especially with people figuring things out on the fly and making decisions for the first time.
Yeah. It's going to be slow. It's going to be a slow grind.
I mean,
but it's going to be fun. We're all going to be in it together.
Oh yeah.
No!
I wish I was there. I wish I was gone.
Yeah, trade
but you're going to have 300 games go to time the first round you run there.
And it's going to be all right, guys. This game has gone to time. You're just going to have to finish this turn and then call it. What turn are you on? Turn 2? Oh, you've just started turn 2. Oh shit!
I mean, you could do like Magic do and just have 5 more turns after time is called.
They need tiebreakers for this, and I'm very interested to see their official play documentation come out in advance of this and go, here are our tiebreakers, because tiebreakers is somewhere where L5R has struggled in the past. It has struggled to come up with a tiebreaker system that was relatively speaking fair.
Yeah.
I mean, what would be fair in this game? Number of claimed rings, number of honor.
I
Yeah,
actually think honor.
A Yatsu duel, simple. Just
Probably
actual
number of
sword.
destroyed provinces first, or broken provinces first, then maybe honor. Then you're introducing additional tracking into the game, like you could look at cards in hand or cards left in the deck. You could look at things like how many rings were claimed over the game, but that's something you then have to record.
You haven't been tracking that,
every turn.
Yeah, the additional bookkeeping.
Imperial favor. There are a number of things you could use the tracker. They will have to have a system that is transparent, and people can go, okay, well, that's what we're playing to.
Yeah. And we've talked before about how, you know, balance in a game where you have strict clan loyalty is a lot more important than if it's sort of people just switch based on flavors of the month. And if you have a tiebreaker system which favors an honorable clan or a dishonorable clan, or a clan that's good at claiming rings, or whatever your tiebreaker is, you need to it's a big, or a clan that's good at taking provinces early and stalling out, and you know, there's a lot of things that we talked about, the old L5R system that just favored line because they could get ahead in the appropriate fields.
One of the options, and I can see some of the people talking about in the chat at the moment, is who gets the Imperial favor, which I guess is a relatively simple way of doing it, and it's doesn't completely do it for me, but it's at least thematic. It's like, you guys couldn't work out who was the better among you. All right, the Emperor decides. Done.
Which, I mean, I can kind of get behind that, so long as everyone just knows that's the system, right?
Yeah, as long as we have something.
And actually, that creates a whole metagame at the last couple of turns of the game, right? That Imperial favor becomes far more important than taking provinces, probably.
I think
maybe not a good
Imperial
thing.
favor would be a terrible. I think it has to be something that's based around the absolute core mechanic of the game. And for me, I mean, claiming rings, you've built into this game avenues of claiming rings that are totally separate from one deck type or another. You can claim rings if you're an honor deck or a dishonor deck or whatever it is. If you do track this, if you do have, let's say, some sort of onus to track this, then that could potentially be something that would give a fair representation of who has done the most in the game, or who has tried to compete the most in the game, in the mechanic that they want to have in the game, which is these conflicts.
So it's a tricky one. I don't think there's any easy answer.
Absolutely.
And the reality is, FFG are going to come up with something, and we're all going to complain about it, no matter what it is, because there is no right answer. There's just plenty of wrong answers, and they have to pick one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. The ideal scenario would be that games never go to time, but I don't think that's going to be the case in this game ever.
Yeah. Okay. And the other thing that we've sort of heard, it was on Jim Freeman on the L5R Facebook mentioned that there will be a European launch for the game, that Patriot Games are helping. That may mean that it's going to be in Sheffield or somewhere that Patriot Games have a connection or have run stuff in the past, but that's an assumption at this point in time. But certainly quite exciting as someone who can't make it to Gen Con that they're looking after the Europeans, and that they're thinking that way. You know, I think it is easy to sort of be US centric when they're based there, and that's where their big launch event is, and it's nice that they are thinking about us across the pond.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super pumped for a European event. Obviously, I can't go to Gen Con. I didn't get tickets. I wasn't planning to go anyway. But this European event, I will 100% be there. If only to see the guys from the community that I haven't seen for a long time, and to play the game that we all love. But also because this game, it just looks like such a kick-ass game.
Imperial Advisor Live.
Yeah, if they run an event, I'll do my absolute utmost to get there.
Yeah. I'll be curious when some more information comes out about that. I'm sure we will discuss that in the future. And so there's a few other things we sort of had in the show notes about tournament etiquette and stuff, and because there's quite a lot of stuff to track on the table. I think another thing I was kind of wondering about is how big is the footprint of the game, because some events there is an abundance of table space, but that isn't far from always the case. And if you have a lot of tokens, a lot of rings and stuff that you're needing to sort of have around, is that going to be a factor, do you think?
I certainly don't think it's any larger than the previous game.
Yeah.
So,
You reckon? I mean, I don't know. I think
re-
there's a lot of tokens and a lot of. There is a good amount.
yeah, but there was always vacant space when playing before. So
That's true. That's true.
yeah, I just don't see it. So I just don't think it's going to be that big a deal.
More
Take
will
up
start in play, but you will not have as much in play at the end of the game.
Absolutely.
That's very true. And the old game did have tons of tokens as well, of many, many different varieties and shapes and sizes. So I guess it'll be par for the course, really.
I think for me the bigger issue is the fact that we'll be sharing the rings. So one person is going to have to put their rings into the mix, and the other person is going to have to remember not to walk off with them.
And it's like, we better be using my lucky fire ring. I've never lost a game.
That is a fair point.
I think it's even a bigger problem with the fate tokens and the honor tokens, because they are going to pass back and forth. Because you're going to put your fate on. Someone has to put the fate on the rings.
Oh yeah.
Oh geez, yeah.
So
Yeah. In fairness. Oh no, sorry. Oh, and go ahead.
there may be a thing in tournaments where you go, actually, you pick the player goes first, you use that player's tokens, and that player gets all the tokens back at the end. Because otherwise, like they're just little cardboard tokens, you got 3 boxes, you lose a few fate, whatever. But there are going to be nicer acrylic tokens you're going to win doing well in tournaments, or people are going to buy acrylic tokens, and you won't want someone walking off with some of yours, even by accident. So
I'm looking forward to Team Covenant, whatever they come up with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and I'm sure there will be plenty of other people. Yep.
And then there's kind of a last topic that I think is kind of interesting, particularly in the context of L5R, when there was a tradition, particularly within certain clans, of players not players intentionally sort of drawing and deciding that, you know, us honourable cranes will not play against one another and we won't defeat one another. And I know in the past FFG games have been a bit weird about some of the rules around concession and intentional draws.
I got corrected on this one with Netrunner recently enough. The original floor rules said that collusion, which included intentionally drawing games, was an instant. I think it was a disqualification. Yeah, but they upgraded them later to say, as long as you got a judge over and it was clear that all discussions happened in front of the judge and there was no bribery involved, that it was a-okay. I think with X-Wing they went for something else as well, didn't they? I think the intentional draws were factored into it because they kind of had to.
It was pretty much the same thing. You could offer an intentional draw, but you had to make sure a judge was there to witness it. Otherwise, it was considered collusion and would get you DQ'd by the strict letter of the rules. So that just seems to be their standard procedure. And you know, it's 5 rings, but it's a new version of 5 rings, and it's a new company running 5 rings. So I think, you know, the AG was much more lax when it came to the story, how the story played out with the players, and how the players took the story and ran with it. Whereas FFG seemed to have a much tighter rein on how they, you know, on their vision for the game and how they want to see it run. So I'd imagine that their rules will be consistent in this case, and that is absolutely fine.
So, Justin, do I recall right that you were a major cause of consternation for AEG? There was a big collusion scandal at one of the Gen Con UKs. Does that ring any bells? A certain crane player may have been involved. Am I recalling that right? I think it was
was that with Tom? Was it? That wasn't collusion. Yeah. No, he just brutalized me in the final. It was awful. Like a crane. No, I was playing Shadowland's personality kill, and I got completely goal screwed. And so I had a Crane honor running deck taking provinces off a Shadowlands player. It was one of the absolute low points of my 5 rings career.
And so your story after was that it was collusion. I agreed to let him win.
Yeah. Well, anything to save face. But no. I just got absolutely destroyed in that game. I was like my first holding was like turn 4 or something like that. And he was
Jesus.
Yeah, Doji Kawanans and Doji whatever the hell, like with their 1 force and 2 force swarm of little blue monsters just coming over and going that province. It was while he was on 34 honor. It was.
Oh no! There was a particular instance in that where I think he wanted someone to duel somebody else for some storyline purposes. Was that it?
Well, that could have. That sounds actually.
He was using Crop J slivers, as I recall, and then went on and promoted Crane Clan into. It was okay.
Yeah, that could be it.
He was trying to crouch one of the Crane clan. That's what it was. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Comes back. Yeah, because you stalled the game got stalled on for an extra turn or something while all the pieces were put in place.
That's right. It may have been more than a turn actually. But yeah. I think we played the game to decide basically who was going to win, and once we both knew right, the game is over now. Then it was just we'll play out the pieces, and here's the mad thing, and then it was. That's entirely possible.
So the elaborate point I'm getting to is that I don't think FFG are really, really ready for the L5R player base and the shenanigans and the bribery and the collusion and the.
Well, I mean, I suppose maybe not, but I think the thing is, certainly with large tournaments, Gen Con UK was a large tournament back in those days. But as long as there's someone there officially to look over it, and if they say, look, we want to do this thing, and if Kat is there and whatever, and if the FFG guys say that's awesome, go ahead and do it, then that's fine. And if they say no, then so as long as just do what FFG say.
Seems reasonable.
Do what I say, not what I do.
Yeah, company man.
Okay, so I think that's probably. I think we can wrap it there. We're sort of getting on an hour and a half in. I hope people enjoyed. Quite a few people have stuck with us, which is quite nice. I thought everyone would just abandon the second the spoiler went up on screen. So I think we might. I don't know how you guys are fixed this week, but come Wednesday, I'd certainly be up for doing some tabletop simulator stuff with some lion cards.
Yeah, the week pause has been horrific.
It's thrown off our rhythm.
Yeah.
Oh well. Maybe we'll just have to, get them to pause another week, and then we'll be back on track. No one would mind another week of no stuff. Cool. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll join us Wednesday, or if not, in 2 weeks' time.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Take it easy, everybody.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks for tuning in.